so incredibly humbled to be here tonight. Incredibly honored that Tom invited me to share just a bit of my story in 3 to 5 minutes. But first wanted to acknowledge, Tom, that I think it's incredibly powerful to watch someone that's living their purpose and watch you speak and share your journey. And I think it's a powerful testimony to the courage that it really takes to share the depths of who you are and the journey that it's taken to get you here. So I applaud you, not only for doing what you're doing, but for sharing it publicly. Not a lot of people can do that, so I applaud you for that. Yeah, the embarrassing family photos start early. So my name is Courtney Klein. I am currently the co-founder of SeedSpot. And I'll get into a bit about my journey and how I got there, but as a young child, I was raised primarily by my mother. My parents divorced when I was 6 years old, just shortly after this photograph was taken, just a few years really. And all through my childhood, I was purported to be something incredible, right? My mother wanted me to be a doctor, wanted me to be a lawyer, wanted me to be something that the public would recognize as being successful, right? How many of us, lots, have been in that boat, that our parents, support network, people around us, teachers, educators, always wanted us to aspire to something that others would deem publicly as being incredibly successful. And so throughout my childhood, I grappled with what would that look like? What would that mean? What was I meant to do? And all through junior and high school, people ask you, what are you going to go study in college? And what do you think you're going to do with your life? And I entered Arizona State University as a broadcast journalism major. I aspired to be Katie Couric. I wanted to live in New York and work on national television and tell the world stories to homes across the country. And when I entered the Walter Cronkite School, there was something fundamentally that shook me that just wasn't quite right. Something didn't align. And I really couldn't pinpoint what that was at the time. I didn't know why it wasn't resonating to stick a microphone in front of someone's face and ask them, how are you feeling this moment of tragedy? And it felt fundamentally alternative to who I was. And so after my freshman year in college, I traveled to a rural village in Mexico. And I lived in the Yucatan Peninsula in a village called Aquil. And I was there witnessing a community that had just been devastated by a hurricane. And I was there with 12 other college students living in a hut, sleeping in a hammock. We were burning our toilet paper. We were showering in the rain. I mean, by American standards, had absolutely nothing. And yet I was the happiest I had ever been. And I realized in that moment, in that summer, that I was really happy because I was helping enable a community to revitalize itself, right? I was enabling and inspiring and motivating and out walking the streets and pounding on doors to say, we're going to rebuild this community together. I'm not going to rebuild it. You are. But we're going to rebuild this community together. And I spent my summer there really questioning, how is it that this community is going to regenerate itself? And how is it that at the age of 18, I've never witnessed a community like this before? How is it that poverty and inequality and everything that's wrong, quote unquote, with the world, how is it that at the age of 18, raised in a middle-class family in Mesa, Arizona, I had never witnessed this? And how many people in the world are unaware of their individual capacity to change it? And so I came back from the Yucatan, devastated my mother, informed her that I was no longer going to become Katie Couric, and I changed my major to nonprofit management, walked in the door and said, I want to start a nonprofit organization, please authorize the major change. And the person that was supposed to authorize the major said, well, lots of students come in and say they're going to start a nonprofit when they graduate, they're going to study a nonprofit and do something great in the world, but few of them actually really do. I was like, really? You're doubting an 18-year-old that has a dream, right? A passion to do something with are you kidding me, right? And I changed my major, despite this professor's intent to dissuade me. And in my senior year in college, I submitted a business plan to an initiative at ASU. And the idea was to start a nonprofit organization that would educate high school students across the country about international issues and local issues and empower them to create change in their own local and national and international communities and partner with people around the world to inspire a global change. I received a $1,000 seed grant from Arizona State University. And to cut a long story short, launched Youth Reaction Corps, this organization that has subsequently merged with an organization in San Francisco and is now New Global Citizens. Jennifer Volman's in the room somewhere, the new executive director. And this organization, over the course of several years, empowered students across the country to realize that they had the capacity at 15, 16, 17, 18 years old to do something about problems that they saw in the world. And people in schools and donors and foundations started to grab onto this idea that we could really fundamentally change the course of history if we started to spark in young people this idea that you could take ownership and take authority and do something different if you believed you were capable of changing things. And so as I led the organization for 7 years, it grew and grew exponentially. 14 states now, 33 countries. And with that came this public perception. And this photograph was taken by the Arizona Republic, and I think over the course of leading the organization, there were likely, truly, 30 to 40 articles, magazine covers, awards, accolades, right, projected on me. And that's not a yay, Courtney, go, the media grabbed a hold of you. It was really a challenging thing for me to figure out, what does this mean? And why are people paying attention to me and the work that I'm doing? And why does that matter? And what shifted for me in that was this, what am I motivated by? And am I motivated by what my mother wanted me to achieve, that I would do something that was worthy of public accolade? And it became very confusing for me, because you're expected and you receive all this external validation, but that wasn't the driving force for why I was doing what I was doing. Quite frankly, I could give a shit, right? But the public poured that on, and I started to question, what is it that I'm really doing? What is it that I'm really passionate about within this? And so through that process, I wanted to build the organization to a place that it could survive without me. I knew that it was a transition moment for me after 7 years. Secured a $1 million endowment from the Arizona Community Foundation, a challenge grant that Jen Volman has securely closed recently. And the organization is flourishing, right? But I positioned this organization with the expectation that I would go on and explore what else was meant for me, knowing that this was not what I would do forever. And so I spent time thereafter in coffee shops and talking with other entrepreneurs, talking with dreamers across the state, realizing that there was this network of people statewide that wanted to do something with their lives. They wanted to change the human condition in some capacity. They wanted to make the world a better place. And whether they were coming to me for advice or insight or inspiration, I didn't know, but I knew that I loved sitting at coffee shops on nights and weekends, talking with other people that had dreams about making the world a better place. And so a year and a half after leaving New Global Citizens and spending lots of time in between in random jobs and cubicles and trying to figure out who I was meant to be, I co-founded with Chris Petroff an organization called SeedSpot. And the intention behind SeedSpot is to inspire dreamers, inspire entrepreneurs, and help support people that believe that the world can function differently. And in our first cohort last summer, we had 191 entrepreneurs from across the state of Arizona apply, and we took 16 companies, 16 entrepreneurs, 16 dreamers into our program. And we supported them for 8 months, helping them get their ideas off the ground. And a few of them are here tonight. And I truly could not be more proud at the fact that there are other people in the world trying to fundamentally change the human condition in a way that they believe is possible. And my role in that, as I've reflected over these past, 9, 10 years of my career, is that there's something that resonates, regardless of the through line I'm on, regardless of what organization I'm attached to or what thing I launched, there's a through line of what wakes me up in the morning and what keeps me up at night that I love and that I thrive on. And I was questioning this a year ago as launching SeedSpot and realizing that I didn't want to get back in a trap of feeling like I was doing something for public accolade. I was doing something to impress my mom, right? I wanted to do something that I believed in. And in meeting Tom, he asked me, what is it that you're really passionate about? And I was like, well, I'm passionate about a lot of things. I can talk to you about a lot of issues, from education to poverty to human trafficking. I mean, there's lots of challenges in the world that I'm passionate about, but I don't know what role I play in fixing them. And so he guided me through the Ignite process, asked a whole series of seemingly unrelated questions. I filled out the survey diligently, and out popped this talent, right? And this talent was presenting. It's always awkward to say that you have a talent when you're actually doing something that you supposedly have a talent in. You can be the judge. But this notion of presenting, right? This notion of inspiring in some capacity, right? And so he asked me then, what is it that you're really passionate about? What is that curiosity? What is that thing that you're gravitating toward? And what I loved about presenting, what I loved about speaking, and not in a public forum, but presenting anything, was possibility. I love presenting possibility. I love looking at a person or a room full of people and saying, what is possible with what you have within you? And that translated to this notion of inspiring, that I am an inspirer. That's not like a self-aggrandizing, that's a really awkward thing to say publicly. But that this thing, whatever it is, God-given, is this, I love inspiring people to believe that what they have within them, that there's something there that's worthy of pursuing. And so this passionate curiosity then coupled with this idea that there are thousands of problems in the world. And I'm not necessarily passionate about inspiring people to go build a new Maserati. Like, I'm not passionate about inspiring people to go make billions of dollars. Like, I don't care. I'm passionate about helping people and inspiring people to believe that they can change the world. And so through that, I've recognized that this is only one bit of my journey, that Youth Reaction Corps, New Global Citizens, Seed Spot, how I live my daily life, it's not about a job, it's not about a title, it's not about a career path. And when asked, what will you do 10 years from now? Where do you see yourself 10 years from now? And the outside projection continues, right? Continues to be, oh, you'll be blank, you'll do this, you'll take your talents here. I don't know. And quite frankly, I don't care. I don't have an aspirational platform or title or job or career trajectory that I'm trying to drive towards. And that's challenging for people to understand, because typically you have some aspiration of dollars or revenue that you want to grow your company to, or a title that you want to hold at some point in your life. I don't care so long as I'm living who I am. And I'll close by telling you that while raised primarily by my mother at a young age and having this notion of you must do something worthy of public, and that's not a knock on my mom, it's just truly how I was raised. I built a relationship with my father when I was about 18 years old. Again, always in my life, but really truly built a strong relationship with my father at the age of 18. And he said something to me that I'll never forget as I was struggling through just being 18 and figuring out what the world looked like for me after I'd returned from Mexico. And he said to me, Courtney, we're called human beings, not human doings. And I thought all my life I've been asked, and continue to be asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? And it was always the same answer. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a doctor, right? That's a do, that's a function. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a firefighter. Function, a doing. Like, what do you actually want to be? And I've realized through this process with Tom that I want to be me, right? Like, I want to live a life that I'm proud of, that whatever natural talent I have is meaningful and coupled with this curiosity that I have intuitively in the world. And I wish and hope and dream that never changes. And that every person has that within them. And that if you've not, and this is not a plug for Tom, he didn't ask me to do this, but truly there's a gift that Tom is bringing to the world that is his natural curiosity coupled with his natural talent, that is helping other people discover that they too have that within them and that they can be married into one. And so Oscar, if you've never been to our building at Seed Spot, just drive in and drive right out the parking structure. Oscar today, he's our parking attendant at our building at Seed Spot. Oscar is the most jovial, kind-hearted, incredible human being you'll ever meet. And I've always questioned, like, Oscar, why are you in a booth? Like, why are you sitting in a booth? And I asked him today, totally not thinking that it would have any correlation to being on the stage tonight. I said, Oscar, why do you do what you do? Why are you in a booth in a parking structure at Thomas and Central? And you have to understand, the man was asked by Maya Angelou to write poetry for her. He was on stage at some incredible musical performances in New York. And I mean, had an incredible journey, incredible career. And he told me today, he says, Courtney, I'm in a booth in Phoenix because I want to connect with people every day. I love serving people. And Oscar every day writes us a note at Seed Spot, this inspirational note. And today's note was something I'll paraphrase to the effect of, the minute that you clear the space in your life to realize who you really are, you have the freedom to just be. The moment that you clear the space in your life to realize who you really are, you have the freedom to just be. And you can call him a sage, which I firmly believe he truly is. But it was this striking moment to me as I pulled out of the parking structure today that he told me that. And that was the note that he gave me to put up on our wall. And I thought about the powerful notion of if we all could just be. If we didn't have to live to anyone else's expectations, but who we truly were. And so for me, this Ignite process has been about realizing what it means to just be. So here I am.